And James is joining me live now from Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine. James, I know you're at a hospital there. What have you been seeing?
Well, Diane, Zaporizhzhia is about 35 miles away from the Russian front, and you've got to look at it much the same way as Kyiv. There was the city and then the kind of outlying villages, which one by one the Russians were taking. And that seems to be the case here. On the outskirts of this city, there are villages which are being bombarded, and people are fleeing from those places, and many of them are coming here to be treated. And I went to the ward here with one of the doctors to see just what's been happening to some of these kids, and the shrapnel that's being taken out of them. We've got to see for ourselves just the kinds of things that they're finding. I met one young girl, Katya. She had shrapnel removed from her hip and her wrist. Her grandmother was there alongside her, crying, telling us how they're actually preparing to get out. They were packing their bags when this shell hit their garden, and Katya was badly injured. Her friend was alongside her. A brick went into the stomach of one of her friends as well. So this little girl was telling me in the bed how she was very worried for her friend more than herself. We met Miroslav there, you saw in the piece, a 10-year-old boy, again, hit in the spine by shrapnel, and his mother desperately worried for him. What they're also doing here, just like we saw in Bucha, is gathering evidence of war crimes, possible war crimes by Russia, because to hit civilian areas, to hit children in this way, is against every kind of international law, every kind of international norm. And Ukraine really wants to prove to the world that it's here to enforce international norms. And so whilst they're fighting a war, they're also gathering evidence of war crimes. Dan?
Yeah, James, if Mariupol falls, what does that mean for Ukraine and for the future of this war?
Well, in many ways, this whole war has been about Mariupol. It was actually bombarded quite heavily back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. And so Mariupol is once again a big centre, and that's why we're seeing such a massive humanitarian fallout there. That's why it's been almost completely razed. Russia is desperate to take control of it because it sits between two areas they already dominate: Crimea in the south and the Donbass region in the north, where they've taken quite a lot of the territory there, although of course not all of it. So if they take Mariupol, they then give themselves this enormous land bridge right the way down to the south in Crimea. At the moment, they can only really access it via going round the Donbass, if you see what I mean. And there's only kind of a small bridge where they can get supplies down into Crimea. If they take Mariupol, that whole area becomes essentially theirs, and they could call time on this particular invasion for now, but just sit on this territory, prepare yet again to invade Ukraine. And that is what Ukraine is worried about, having this permanent Russian presence right on their eastern flank for good. And that's what Mariupol could give them. Diane?
Now, and James, you say there have also been more attacks in the northern city of Kharkiv, the western city of Lviv. What's the latest there, and what does that say about Russia's strategy?
Well, in the east, they're continuing to bombard cities like Kharkiv to kind of lay the groundwork for this possible Russian ground offensive. We've seen satellite imagery of Russian troops building up on the borders to the north of eastern Ukraine. And so in a place like Kharkiv, that would be possibly in order for them to advance on the ground. In a place like Lviv, we saw these airstrikes this morning. That is just more of Russia trying to hit military installations, trying to keep the Ukrainians diverted, try to pin their troops down in different parts of the region so they can't focus completely on the east, and also just send messages really to the people of Ukraine that Russia is there and they're willing to cause as much damage as it takes to meet their objectives. So I think, you know, we've seen airstrikes not just in Lviv, but in Kyiv, the capital, Dnipro, just north of where I am. Every single major Ukrainian city is really seeing these airstrikes. And that's part of the reason why Ukraine has been saying from the very beginning that they wanted a no-fly zone, that they want help in the skies, because whilst they're fighting on the ground, they're also having to look to the skies where these dangers are still very real. Dan?
All right, James Longman for us. James, stay safe. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.